When's the last time I made a video where I just talked about something? I don't really know when that was, but I've been wanting to talk a little bit about Fire Emblem Shadows, and with the release of the latest Battle Pass character, which some of you may have seen already, I kind of want to talk about a little bit. And I've ranted about it on stream before too, so this just may be a rehashing if you frequent those. But if you don't, in defense of Fire Emblem Shadows, it is not Fire Emblem Heroes. It is what feels kind of like what Doki Doki Panic was for Super Mario Bros. 2. It's basically just a different game that is reskinned with a popular franchise or characters from a popular franchise and then given to the masses to enjoy as a side game or something along those lines. Even though I think technically Fire Emblem Shadows is not considered a sideline game for Fire Emblem. I don't know exactly. I think the wiki said something about it being a main title, which I don't know if I believe that, to be honest. But Fire Emblem Shadows is basically like Among Us in what is ultimately tactical RPG fashion, I guess. Um, it's interesting. There's a lot of little mechanics throughout the game that you kind of pick up that allow you to either be stealthy in your role as the saboteur, or try to be innocent. Honestly, anytime I play on the side of light, everybody thinks I'm the imposter, and anytime I'm on the shadow team, everyone immediately knows that I am the imposter. So I must be doing something just so incredibly wrong when I play this game. But I think where the interesting part comes down to is the matchup, and then how your loadout kit works in terms of like how you can throw off the other opponents into thinking that one of them is actually the saboteur by using similar attacks and spells and things like that to basically frame somebody else. Like that kind of stuff is super interesting to me, and there's always an interesting progression in games like this because a lot of the tools are just the creativity of the person holding them. Um, and this one kind of feels that way. Now it's not a breakout success. It was catching some heat for not having a high enough revenue in like its first 3 weeks, I guess. But on God, I bought the battle pass just to see what it would do because it was relatively inexpensive. Um, I don't know how to spend money on this game in any other way. Like, maybe I'm just dumb and I've missed it or something, but I don't know how to give the game more money because I looked. Because normally it's just right up in your face. There's a message on the very home screen. Like gotcha games all do this thing where they just lure you into the shop and then show you hundreds of dollars worth of spending capability. Um, I didn't see that with this. Frankly, so as far as I know, the biggest thing you can spend money on is basically just the battle pass, which is a proper battle pass, by the way. Fave pass holders who have never experienced another battle pass in any kind of live service or gotcha game, that's what a proper battle pass looks like. It has a free level and it has a paid level, and you progress by playing the game. That's how it works. It's not just a thing that renews every 2 weeks and you get something and it's like, ooh, okay, that's fun. Um, it's a proper battle pass, which I think is good. I think they should probably implement that into Fae at some point as well. Um, but the thing about the battle pass, you have to have a lot of incentivizing things in the battle pass to get them to buy it. And the thing that we ended up getting was just Uma Lin. Like we got Horse Girl Lin in what was seemingly following peak Pretty Derby levels of excitement. I don't think that was the intention. Okay. Dimitri is also a lion. That kind of makes sense. Lore wise, I guess, metaphorically speaking. But Lin is of the plains. Horses are like the thing, right? When you look at Wrath, he is with his horse. Uh, that's kind of how that rolls for that particular tribe. It's horses, you know. So it makes sense. It makes sense. But then the experience got a little bit soured because we immediately got a Mythic Lin in Fire Emblem Heroes, which, I mean, basically did away with like one range combat. It pains me how they just kind of creep not only skill at this point, but also just mechanics. Let's be honest. The window kind of got thrown out with the entire house when emblems started getting introduced. It was on a slow decline until then, and Emblem just popped in. It's like, oh, okay. But now, like the style thing in particular that Lin gives off, is like crazy stuff. But ultimately, the design wasn't really anything that spectacular, and that's why I personally didn't really care that much, despite Fire Emblem being my first game, and Lin being what I think is probably the first Fire Emblem character I was introduced to, unless you count Super Smash Bros. Melee, which is, you know, a spiritual Fire Emblem game to some. But there was something that happened. We got the new character for season 2, Battle Pass Dev season. I don't know if they regard them in that fashion here, but we got Corrin, who is basically Mecha Dragon, which is sick. Like, this is cool. I saw it on stream last night. I got alerted that they had announced this and put it out. It is awesome. It's so cool. I love what this is. And it's actually like imaginative, which I kind of like. And I'm sure that we will inevitably see this in Faye at some point. I would assume first of the year, give or take. That's a cool design. And honestly, probably gonna get it because it looks pretty cool, right? I have to actually play the game now. But when you see the Shadow version, it's like some sort of crazy Palkia Dialga combo. I've been playing Pokemon Z to A, so my brain is in the slightly Pokemon oriented space. But it looks kind of like that, but Cybermech. That's cool. Like, that's sick. I wish I wish they would take liberties like this with other characters and that too. I wish that they would do kind of off the wall alt designs or themes like this in Heroes instead of just getting bunny ears every year or getting multiple swimsuit banners. You know what I mean? Like, this would be cool. I would like this. I always like the thing about Heroes is it has such liberty to be unique. Because it is basically an Avengers style collaboration of all the Fire Emblem titles. But it's also a gacha game, so you have the liberties of gacha games and all of the unique random outfits that the characters can inevitably end up in. And this kind of feels like that. I don't know if Cyber Mech Dragon Corrin is canon. Frankly, I only ever played Revelations, which felt bad. But I don't know if this is canon in some capacity, but it looks cool. It looks cool. And to the masses, looking cool is important. Okay? Like, that's the main draw. And I'm not saying that Mythic Lin, Horse Lin, whatever Lin from Shadows Lin, I'm not saying that wasn't a bad decision, nor was I implying that Dimitri was a bad decision. But this feels much more unique and interesting that would make me want to check the game out. And it may just be pandering to me because dragons equal cool, but at the same time, it feels a lot more inventive than like Horse Lin or Lion Dimitri, right? Even though it's still Dragon Corrin, it's presented in a different way that seems pretty awesome, respectfully. But I think Shadows doesn't have to be this hyper fixated crazy kind of phenomenon Okay, frankly, Heroes doesn't have that kind of worldwide phenomenon either. I think it's just very beloved by a very dedicated fan base who kind of takes what they can get at this point. um, but it's still special, right? I think the developers should be doing cool things for their players to make them happy and get them excited about these things. Because while Fire Emblem is kind of more mainstream, it's still not Genshin Impact levels of mainstream. It's just not. And it probably will not be unless it goes the route of extreme merchandising, which thankfully it hasn't yet. But it's still cool to see stuff like this happen, and I hope that the two development teams, because I'm assuming they are, while possibly both intelligent systems, vastly different teams working on these two projects. I hope that they talk, and I hope that they introduce cool stuff like this. Um, and I hope, for what it's worth, that Shadows continues, even if it is just an alt funneling pipeline into Heroes, where we will inevitably get mythic versions of all the legendaries and emblems that we've gotten, because mythics are different from legendaries in some capacity because of Heroes logic, I guess. The real curious bit is what they're going to do with Robin, because we technically have Legendary Robin, but Legendary Robin's kind of mythic-esque Robin because it's Grima. I'm not really sure what that that will be an interesting Shadows Battle Pass at some time down the road. But for what it's worth right now, I really like this corn alt. This is cool. I genuinely I really like this. Now we'll probably play season 2, and I may stream it a little bit too. Um, but cool designs like this will keep me coming back, and people like me coming back to the game more than likely. So while Shadows may not be a massive, phenomenal success right off rip 3 weeks in, I think it still does things that improves on the Heroes formula a little bit in terms of things like monetization through Battle Pass, proper Battle Pass, cool alts, which inevitably will end up in Heroes anyway. So I'm hoping that we can maybe take lessons from one another and improve both games to make them more successful. But that's it. I just wanted to rant about this for a little bit and wish you a happy Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.